Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Club Live here at Club at 22, your Rangers podcast, where we're here for the final show of 2022 to have a quick recap over the Motherwell game and also mainly look ahead to the Old Firm game coming up on a Monday afternoon at 12:30, which seems rather strange. But before we get into all of that, introduce my guest to you. First up, Mr. Alistair Pearson. How are things with you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's that kind of shitty bit in between Christmas and New Year where nobody really knows what to do with themselves, to be honest, waiting for the Old Firm to come. It's weird being back live on YouTube because I think the last time we were actually live on a Friday because we were at the game last week, Ross County, which was that was exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's Carney. It's one of these ones, like Ali says there, that once you've live ones from the house in a while, they can be a bit strange. How are things with you, though?
Yes, all good, mate. Good to be back. Good to be back live on a Friday night. Scotia's Wi-Fi is doing the usual thing it usually does tonight, so it'll be an interesting show for sure. But no, it is very much good to be back live on a Friday. Does seem like it must have been 3 weeks now since we were last live. So yeah, good to be back. As I say, it is a weird bit of the year where you're not really sure what you're doing, whether you're coming or you're going. And it almost feels like the Old Firm game is tomorrow, and it isn't. We've got another 3 sleeps to go yet. So, yes, it kind of shows you everything about how I'm feeling over the upcoming Old Firm. But yeah, good to be here. Hello, chat. It's been a while.
It hasn't. You know, it's been at least 3 weeks because my Wi-Fi went into a wee black hole there. It's obviously not been warmed up enough yet. Ali, changing any jokes for 2023?
No, I'll get a new joke for 2023 if you score.
Excellent. No, but as I say, firstly, we'll start off with a quick recap of the Motherwell game. Given that it's just the three of us that done the post-match as well, we probably won't dig into it too much, but just have a wee look over it. Obviously, you know, it's the team that was McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davies, Barisic, Lundstrom, Jack, with Tillman, Kent, Lowry and Morelos playing up top. Rangers ran out 3-0 victors with some great goals by Alfie, Goldson and Tillman. Just get your thoughts. Anything changed, lads, in terms of after the game now? Have you had a chance to watch stuff back and see what it was like? Ali, you first.
Not really, to be honest. I thought we summed it up quite well, to be honest. It was a bizarre game. I've listened to quite a few other folk talk about the game, and they've pretty much said the same as us, as is Beale pretty much. He pretty much said it was 3 points and that was it. And we kind of said the same. It was 3-0 and you'd think it would be a great game to watch, but it wasn't. There was a lot of slack playing in the middle of the park. A lot of the passing was shocking at times, but at the end of the day, we get 3 points, we get 3 goals, we get a clean sheet. If you give me that in Monday, Scotia, with that performance, I will grasp that out your hands right now. But yeah, he's. I think he said in the presser today he's used 20 of the squad so far, and you've seen that in the 4 games he's come in. He's kind of tinkered with it slightly to see what he wants to do. Referred to Tillman at points where he wants him to play, but it wasn't great to go and watch as a spectacle. But it was 3 good goals. And it was 3 points, like I say, so onwards and upwards.
Yeah, sorry, I went into that hole again, Ali, so I missed a wee bit of what you were saying. But Carney, just get your thoughts. I mean, I've watched the highlights back, and watching the highlights, you could be forgiven that you were watching a different game than the one we actually seen, because you watched the highlights back and we actually looked fairly convincing. But your thoughts overall?
Excuse me. That's the thing about it, mate. Is when you do watch the highlights back, and then if you were to watch the highlights and then watch our reaction, you'd be going, "What game were they at?" Because the goals were good. Every goal that we scored, Andrew Muir quickly just came in with a donation. Thank you so much, Andrew. That is very much appreciated, mate. That's absolutely cracking. But yeah, it was a strange game to watch. Look, it's another 3 points. It's another clean sheet. Beale has came in and won his first 4 games as Rangers manager, and you can't really ask for any more than that. I think we are realistic enough to know that performance levels are going to need to improve if we hope to kind of not get caught out, I suppose. And obviously on Monday, weird saying that we get an Old Firm game on Monday. I can't really get used to that. But obviously on Monday, the performance levels are going to need to be much higher than what they were, because we'll get caught out. We were far too slack in possession. Obviously, if you watch the full game, you'll see that too many times we were just needlessly giving the ball away. Maybe a lack of concentration, lack of focus, I'm not sure. And I still think there's a few players within the team that are still trying to get themselves into some form again, gather some form back, because we're still seeing the same kind of culprits that we spoke about before, not really performing to their best. And but I mean, in terms of what it is 3 points, it is 3 goals, it is a clean sheet, and we can't ask for a great deal more than that. I quite like the way, I know you'll come on to it, but what Ali's just said, every other pod pretty much said the same. A few things I disagreed with. I don't know if we'll get into it further, but then Beale comes out and pretty much says exactly what we said: 3 points, a clean sheet, and apart from the 3 goals, there was nothing else. Literally nothing else. But it's a results business, isn't it?
Scotia's in that black hole. His Wi-Fi's not liking this at all, is he, tonight?
Scotia is in the hole.
I might need to bring that joke back out, Carney, and see if it'll help.
Either that, you'll need to phone his dad and tell him, you'll be like, right, you get a shift on. Yes, I think Scotia is in that black hole. I'll carry on until Scotia comes back. Ali, we'll move on to what Beale said in the presser. I really, honestly, really like his honesty. I think he's a man that the more he talks, the more I believe in everything that he's saying and what he's planning on doing and what he's planning on building. It's refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, we picked Tommy up and before the game of Wednesday, and that was one of the first things he said in the car to us was, did you see Beale's press conference? And he said that's the one thing he liked about it. It gives you a lot more information. With Gio, it was the same kind of stuff he was coming out with. He didn't really give you anything. Beale comes out and tells you a lot in terms of injuries, where we're at, which we'll like to hear at the moment where players are at. He gives you good updates on players when you think they're going to be due back. And he doesn't sugarcoat it either. Like you say, the presser after the game against Motherwell, he came out and said what we said, that it's 3 points, but the performance pretty much was unacceptable. And he knows this team can reach a higher level. So I like what he says. I just want to see it in the park. But I'm not, like I said, I've said for day one when he's come in, I'm not judging him on this season. I'll judge him when he's allowed to bring in his proper team. As Scotia reappears, hopefully, here. But no, everything that comes out of Beale's mouth, I really like the way he speaks, Beale. I really do.
Yeah, Scotia, we were just talking about, we moved on just to speak about Beale's reaction and how much we're impressed by just how kind of open and honest that he's planning on being with the press and with us. It's a rather refreshing thing to have. It's a good thing to have, considering that we've been recently witness to just a very well-trained media guy in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst just giving you the kind of blanket answers, and it doesn't really do anything for you. It seems to be a wee bit more in these press conferences now, so you can answer that question and you can take hosting back. Hopefully that your Wi-Fi keeps up with it.
Yeah, hopefully it does. If not, one of you will just need to jump in and host. I apologise, everyone, for the Wi-Fi. It's never going to get better, I don't think, living out down in Helensburgh. But no, the Beale thing, yeah, it's interesting. You can tell his love and appreciation of football when he comes on and he speaks. The press conferences are longer now, but I don't know if that's also a fact because there's more in person. It's more in person now that everyone's got a long talk and how to actually do the press conferences rather than everyone being on Zoom. But no, what Beale's saying, I like sitting listening to him, seeing his enthusiasm. How long I will enjoy that though might be a different story if results and performances aren't going the way of Rangers. That sometimes it can maybe be a wee bit too open. But like you see, even Gerrard was very well press trained as well. He never gave overly much away, maybe a wee bit more enthusiastic, but that's maybe just a cultural thing between a Dutch coach and an English coach. But yeah, so yeah, we're talking, I'll keep going, I'll try and keep going if it keeps with the Wi-Fi. But I think, Ali, I heard you kind of mentioning something that Beale had mentioned in his pre-match or post-match interview on Wednesday night, and it was interesting to hear about Tillman, that he was quite wanting Tillman to kind of play as a number 8. And obviously Tillman got asked a similar question, whereas Tillman thought his best position was between 8 and 10. But I just wanted to get your thoughts around that on Tillman going forward.
Yeah, well, we all kind of noticed that with Tillman when Lowry was in the team as well. I think Carney said in the post-match at times Tillman didn't really know where he was. and it's probably because he's been used to playing the kind of 10. So he's tinkering with him a wee bit in that midfield. He sees him as an 8. Personally, I don't know. I prefer him as the 10, just behind like a focal point Morelos. But Michael Beale's midfield to attack, that's where he's kind of specialises in. So I'll trust him in that one. But yeah, if he wants him in as the 8, it'll be interesting, Scotia, because going forward, we've got Lawrence hopefully coming back, your man Hadji coming back. And the way he talks about these players, I think he wants to play the players in the team. So something's going to have to give in the middle of the park. So maybe he's thinking, if I put Tillman as the 8, I can fit in a Lawrence or I can fit in a Hadji there. That's what I think. I think he's looking more long-term, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen Harry, flashed up Harry's comment there, Carney. And I think the reason I'm doing that is because it's a stress reaction that every time I stop speaking, I'm getting stressed out that it's going to break down again. But no, what are your kind of thoughts around Tillman with regards to what Beale had to say?
Scotia, everybody knows this is a very professional podcast, mate. So see if you're dropping out, mate, don't worry about it. We've done worse, let's put it that way. We have done worse. We'll be good enough just to pick up if you drop out, mate. Don't worry about that. After all, we've got half of the A team and half of the B team, so that makes a pretty good team, Ali, I think. In terms of Tillman, instead of Tillman, I believe it or not, agree with Alistair that I think Beale is looking at that long term. He's looking at that and thinking, if I can get him to a number 8, i.e. a Ryan Jack standpoint in that, where he gets a wee bit better. He is good at battling, I suppose. He's very good at winning the ball back. He's very good at reading the game, and he kind of knows when to press. And the kind of lacklustre approach that we were kind of accusing them of under Van Bronckhorst seems to have disappeared a bit. You don't really seem to see as much as that. But again, maybe that's a management thing. Maybe that's what Van Bronckhorst was telling him to do. Like, look, don't worry about the tracking back. Don't worry about doing any of that. Just you stay there. When the ball comes to you, you're the one that's going to make things happen. But yeah, I'll go along with what Ali said there. It's a very good point that he'll be looking at and going, if I can get Lundstram and Jack to do that one job between the two of them, only pick one of them when I need them, and then you play Tillman there. When Lawrence comes back, Hadji comes back, it frees up that position a wee bit further forward. And I think we all agreed when Tillman and Lawrence were in the same team, even though it looked like Lawrence was actually doing the more box to box than what Tillman was doing, playing the more 8 than the 10 and leaving Tillman. Either of that, though, I'm very happy for both of them to be playing in the same team. It's what we're all desperate to see again, because we're very much enjoying it. As I say, it's going to be interesting to see what Lawrence is like when he comes back. I know it's not a long time he's been out, but it's still not as if it's just been a couple of weeks. So he might take a bit of time as well to get back up and running. And it's all well and good, yeah. I do get that. I like the manager is thinking about the future. He's got a lot of readjusting, reassessing, making decisions on players' futures very, very soon. He's going to need to decide what he wants and what he doesn't want. But in terms of Tillman, I can completely understand why he's thinking, if I get him to an 8, then a manager plays him at the 10, then he's got every attributes in the world to succeed.
Yeah, I think I'd mentioned this to Pearson at some point over Christmas, but after watching the World Cup and seeing McAllister play for Argentina, because he plays a wee bit deeper at times as well in that 8 and then pushes forward in at the 10. So I do understand what Beale's trying to say them. And Ali had said to you that McAllister's valuation since the World Cup or since the start of the season's been up by about 20-30 million euros. It's ridiculous. So it'd be great if Tillman could be that player, because I think we can all see the flashes that Tillman has, and he's in a very exciting prospect. So hopefully we can keep hold of him. Finally, just wrapping up on the Motherwell game, there's a couple of things that I'd forgotten about. I'd completely forgotten that Van Veen had put the ball in the back of the net until I was watching the highlights. And then I remembered that he was offside, but a correct VAR decision, Ali, because you did kind of shout out before his at the start of the game that it'd be interesting to see if VAR came into effect, because we've not had it in a while.
Yeah, VAR hasn't really intervened in many games I can remember of the last couple of games. But I was a correct decision. That Van Veen came on for the last 20 minutes or something, and he put a ball in the back of the net. But I know he was offside, and that's what VAR's there for. Obviously, we've been interested with VAR when we've we've got Celtic coming up on the Monday game with VAR. So I'm interested to see that. That is the first Old Firm with VAR in it, isn't it?
Well, at least Scott Brown's no longer there, so Alfredo won't get sent off for kicking him in the balls again.
Yeah, so I mean, VAR in an Old Firm, I've been waiting for it, and something will happen. There's going to be something that's going to happen with this VAR on Monday. You know, there's going to be something. It'll be controversial. There's always something. But
is it Beaton's the ref and Willie Collins the VAR, isn't he?
I've not even looked into it, to be honest.
I think it is. I think it's Beaton, and I think Willie Collins VAR. Brilliant. Brilliant.
I forgot to even look to see who the referee is, because it kind of takes care of itself usually in these.
It's Beaton, I think. I'm sure it's Beaton.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Beaton. Sorry, Ali, I hope you'll cut you off.
No, that was pretty much what I was saying. Like I said to Scotia before that VAR hasn't really been involved in a lot of our games recently, and that's the first time it's been involved. And hopefully on Monday it's not involved unless it's on a good thing for us. Penalty to Rangers would be nice to win the game. I would like that.
I don't know if I'd enjoy actually the wait and seeing that getting checked by VAR and things like that. That would be a wee bit nerve-wracking, Carney. You don't think?
Yeah, look, mate. Old Firm games are nervous enough as it is, man. Like the kind of we all go through the ringer. It's pretty bad, man. Like it's a weird thing. We've spoken about it a number of times that. You love Old Firm games and you hate Old Firm games. I don't enjoy 90 minutes of that game. Honestly, I don't enjoy it because you're up and down. It's horrific. The night before's horrific, especially even the day before. And this one's going to be bad because it's New Year's Day, and it's like, what am I meant to do on New Year's Day to try and distract myself from what's about to happen the following day? So it's stressful enough as it is. There will be something. There is going to be something that will probably be controversial. Let's just hope that it's that it goes our way. But yeah, to get it, see for a pure dodgy penalty call, and it goes to VAR, and we get penalty at Rangers, and we win it that way. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the meltdown? Even though they'll still be 6 points clear, but they'll still have a meltdown about it. Yeah, there'll definitely be something. But it's one of the things of just standing there waiting. You're right, mate. Like to see what VAR's going to say, and especially because you know it's Column as well. You'll be like, oh God, but no. There'll be something. There'll be something. I'm pretty sure of it.
Well, and speaking about, obviously VAR's a modern introduction to the Scottish game, and it's been a few seasons now, but for me, from that Motherwell, what was really pleasing to see was as soon as Tillman's goal went in about the 63rd minute, a couple of minutes later, there was a raft of 4 substitutions, and Beale's kind of come out in press conferences saying he's a real big fan of this, having 5 substitutions. And I think your guys' thoughts will be the same, but I've always felt that Gio was always kind of waiting for that to happen, and it never did, so he never could make those changes. Whereas hopefully under Beale we can get to that kind of stage where we can rotate these players, Ali.
Yeah, no, he's come out and said he likes the 5-sub rule quite a bit. I mean, the 5-sub rule benefits us and them, really, because we've got bigger squads, better squads. It's an advantage to us and Celtic as well over the other teams. But yeah, he uses it. He has mentioned, Scotia, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, that because of the 5 substitute rule now, players can play later, which is your Scott Arfields and all that. Are they going to give them another contract in terms of he can use them for 15, 20 minutes in a game? He has said that, so maybe that's preparing us for a couple of deals, getting prepared for some players. But yeah, it suits us as one of the biggest team in the league, and along with Celtics too. The 5-sub rule is set up for us and them, to be honest, because it doesn't advantage the other teams when they're playing against us, because we can bring on decent players. But it was interesting to hear Beale say about the way football's changing in terms of players will play longer now. So whether that means a Scott Arfield this side next season, I don't know.
Carney,
that's not bashing Scott Arfield, sorry, because I like Scott Arfield. I was using him as an example.
Carney, I was going to come to you and get your thoughts on this, but Ali, the way Ali's kind of worded his or rephrased his answer there, kind of teased that up perfectly to come on to the next subject, which is that unfortunately earlier in the week we learned the news that Stephen Davis was going to be out injured for the rest of the season. Obviously, Stephen Davis, I think he turns 38 on Sunday. Coming to the kind of his end of his playing career with Rangers, but from what Beale's been saying, he thinks that Davis has still got about another 18 months left in him to play at a very high level. what are your thoughts around that? But around Beale's comments and also, the unfortunate news of Davis's injury.
Yeah, extremely good hosting, Scotia. Well done. The Trying Scotsman as well. Thank you so much, mate, for the donation as well, mate. That's magic. Thank you. Yeah, look, it's so unfortunate for Davis. I don't want to write him off because it would be unfortunate for his career to finish with Rangers in that way. But I mean, if I put my money on it right now, I don't think I'll see him play for Rangers ever again, because at that age, and even though he's took care of himself, it's an ACL, isn't it? So it's not exactly something that's easy to recover from. And I don't know if he's ever done it before. Has he ever done his ACL before off the top of your head? Any of you know? I'm not sure. No, has he never done it?
Can't think off the top of my head. No, I don't think so.
No, so I mean, that might work in his benefit, but it's a horrific news. It is horrific news to hear that that's the way that it could potentially end. And you say you don't want to write him off before it happens, but no, if I was a betting man, I would say that was probably it for Davis. In terms of what Beale's saying, look, I think Beale's he's covering all bases right now.
Cheers.
Eric Oliver,
Thank you very much.
absolutely superb. Thank you so much, everybody. That's magic. Cheers, Eric. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think Beale's covering all bases a wee bit. I don't think he's a particularly stupid man, and I think he'll realise that there's going to be. We've got a soul happening. Soul kicking off. Desmond, thank you so much, mate. Very much appreciated as well. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I think Beale will be setting up knowing that there's going to be a few people that are going to remain, that potentially the majority of the fans would not want to stay. And I think I'll say it that way to try and be as polite as possible. But I think, like we've all said, that we would move Ryan Jack on. I think Ryan Jack will probably stay. Davis is one of these ones that it will all depend how his recovery goes. If his recovery is great and it's not left him any sort of real damage, then he might get an extension with his. But as I say, for me, I think we're still at the stage where we need to move on. But he's also made comments about what he knows he needs to invest in, and what area he needs to invest in. There's some uncertainty within the midfield, etc. So there's all of that to be playing to. But right now, I think Beale's covering all bases, and Justin Muir, as always, mate, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for the support and the donation to this channel.
Yeah, thank you everyone for those wee raft of donations that come in. I don't never want to say anything while Carney's in mid flow, because you'll interrupt his train of thought most times.
Yes.
But I'm kind of my thoughts around it are probably a bit similar to yours, Carney. That I thought, I mean, even coming to the end, these three players that you mentioned there, Darfield, Davis, and Jack, probably one of them does stay on after the end of this. That was prior to the news of Davis coming through. But it's one of those ones I don't want to see Davis leave Rangers this time round, because that's what he's played around about 360 plus games for Rangers over his, I'll call them spells, because I can never remember how many times he's been on loan with us and signed permanently, because that happened both occasions that he's come up from the Premiership. But I don't want to see him going out on crutches kind of thing. I would like to see him getting a decent send off. But how much can you let sentimentality run things for you when you want to be getting to the next level and, back to winning the Scottish Championship and, competing well in the top stage of European football? And what are your thoughts around it all, Alistair?
Yes, Steve Davis is the ideal guy for Monday to bring on. Say we're winning a couple of goals, to bring on for the last 15, 20 minutes just to calm it down and keep the ball. He's your man to bring on. And Beale would use him that way going forward this season if he was available. He's a fantastic footballer. He's not got all the caps for Northern Ireland for no reason. And like I think Beale said, I don't think he's ever really been injured in his career, something like this. But a cruciate ligament, Scotia, at that age, does he want to come back? In terms of, will he be the same player to play for maybe a year if so, or does he just want to retire now? It's a sad way if he is going to retire, to go out that way. But you can look what he's achieved in the game. It's phenomenal from Davis. And it's sad because he's a great player. And you don't want to see players like that when, let's be honest, he probably is going to leave. Well, thanks very much, Ross McLean. Another donation to the podcast. No, it's a sad way for a player to leave. I remember when Lee Wallace left Rangers, obviously. Back then, obviously, there was a fallout back then. It was a different scenario, but he didn't get to say goodbye. But He did say about Davis in terms of coaching going forward, whether he might come back to Rangers in a coaching capacity. I don't know. But yeah, it's sad if that's the way he's going to go out. And you're looking even for the Hearts goalkeeper this week as well, Craig Gordon as well, around about the same age as well, a horror injury as well, Scotia. And
horrific.
Yeah, and he's the same. What does he do? And he's had a fantastic career as well, Craig Gordon. So for two players like that to get the injuries this week, it's not great. But for Davis, no, I feel sorry for Steve Davis. I seen him; he was sitting in front of me for the Motherwell game in Wednesday there, and Tommy seen him move back in on the crutches, so he gets his what do you call it? His operation in January. Bill said, so I need to see what happens then. But if I'm being honest, I can't see him coming back, Steve Davis, for us. Just the age he's at.
No, I understand what you're saying, but mainly first of all from us. Hopefully, he recovers from it fairly sharpish anyway, because he could still continue playing football, even if it was at a lower level, if he so chosen to do so. But it's a bit of a shame because he has been such a legend for the club. You know, he's gave us some great moments, and he's gave us really good moments in Europe over his time here as well. You know, been instrumental in some of the successes we've had over both spells.
And he scored an overhead kick against Celtic.
Yeah,
of all
never
things,
thought I'd see that.
Of all things, man. Honestly, what a lad.
Never thought I'd see that. You had to bring up Gordon there as well, Alistair, didn't you? I'm still a wee bit in the huff with Gordon when he didn't decide to sign with us when he was training with us, recovering from an injury early in his career when we were coming back up through the divisions with McCoy. I was still a wee bit miffed at him for that because he chose to go to the dark side, didn't he? So yeah, before we get to go and speak more about the dark side, I wanted to kind of finish up. Obviously, it's the last podcast of the year, and get your two guys' thoughts on your best and worst Rangers moments over the course of 2022. I can understand this one can be a wee bit difficult because obviously you tend to put everything into categories in terms of last season and this season. But let's have your thoughts. Carney, I'll let you go first because Ali usually steals the good ones.
There's not many good ones, Scotia.
There isn't many good ones. So you're talking the calendar year, yes, the calendar year we're talking here.
Yep.
And I'm probably going to steal everyone's. It has to be the Leipzig game for me. That night will live with me for literally the rest of my life. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I'll never forget the noise of Ibrox, and just what it felt like it meant to us as fans and as supporters, after everything that we kind of been through with the club, and to get that as a reward. And yeah, of course, we wish the final went a different way. That goes without saying. But that night, it really felt like something was in the air, if you like. Take a wee line from the song. But the moment when Lundstrom scored, and Ibrox was just a blur of limbs. It was I've never ever seen or felt anything like it before, and the club deck was physically moving that night. You could actually feel the whole stand move. It was just incredible, which freaks my dad out, by the way. He absolutely hates that. He's not a fan of heights, my dad, but he chooses to sit in the club deck. But absolutely terrifies him. But it was the moment after that as well, and the singing of the Lundstrom song at the end, everybody just kind of burst into that. It was, yeah, something that I think will live with me for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure of it, and I am very, very fortunate that I was there. I know how fortunate I am to be able to go to these games and to be able to be there for the occasions. But for me, this calendar year, the best moment for me was, if I had to pick, there is a few, but you might want to talk about them, but would have to be Lundstrom scoring that goal against Leipzig and Ibrox being the way that it was. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think in a purely footballing basis, that is probably the best highlight. That because you kind of knew that you were going to that final. I won't get your worst yet. We'll wrap up with the worst because we'll try and keep that fairly short. But so, Ali, what was your favourite moment of 2022?
You can't beat that Leipzig. I could tell you some other thing, but I could the round before or something, or Dortmund, but you can't beat that for that moment of being in Ibrox. That last the 20 minutes of when we were through at the final. That 20 minutes of being at Ibrox, you can't beat that. I've been to the Parma one that people rave about before, the noise there, but that's something else. And I'm not going to sit here and choose something else. I know we're all going to choose the same one, but that was incredible. I mean, Scotia, we were lined up to go to the darts that night. We had darts tickets for the Hydro, and it get postponed during COVID, and that was the date it fell on. And the closer we got to it, we all went, Price Rangers might be in a semi-final of a European trophy, and we chose Ibrox, of course, instead of the darts, and it was phenomenal. Even afterwards in the pub, Scotia, I mean, the place was bouncing, like the Viceroy as well, which usually isn't associated with bouncing and all that, but even it was bouncing. It was incredible, and obviously getting to know Scotia, that we were on our way to Seville, which was another thing in its own, incredible. The only downside of that, obviously, was you getting my breakfast, and it was
Bloody hell, they couldn't go out without you without bringing that back. I mean, yeah, on a footballing basis, yeah, that probably is up there, but I'm choosing a knock on from that, and the only reason I'm choosing so, and I know it's not, well, it is Rangers related, but it was because Tav's press conference today. I don't know if you've seen Tav's press conference today for the preview, and he was talking about Adam Devine, and the words that came out of his mouth, where it was a credit to his family. And I just had flashbacks to Ali saying that to Tav's mum, and I was rolling about laughing when I heard that earlier today, because I was like, "You've taken that off of Ali. Your mum's told you about Alistair Pearson, hasn't she?" And you've said that, yeah. So that would be mine, because it just tied into today.
Also, Scotia, before you move on to the worst, I think you kind of have to give mention to the Scottish Cup as well, because it had been so long since we had won that. That was my backup one, by the way. If you had went to Ali first, that was my backup one. Me and Ali, I think we stood together for the first time in Hampden, mate. Me, you, and my dad for the Celtic game when we won that. That was great. That was fantastic. We'd done an absolute hell of a night that night. That was a brilliant night. And then obviously going on to win the final as well. That was special as well. It was one of those ones that after the kind of we won the Scottish Cup and the full-time whistle went, and I know it took us to extra time to win it, but it was like a relief, wasn't it? It was like, thank God that's done. Like, thank God it's done. We've got the Scottish Cup. It's happened now. We can kind of move on from it. But the whole like lead up to that, the old firm at Hampden, I thought it was that was a real good day as well. I really did enjoy that one. That was a particularly good one. So if there's another old firm at Hampden, me and Ali are going to need to somehow find a way that we stand next to each other, because it's obviously a good luck thing now. So, but yeah, just special mention to the Scottish Cup as well, because it was important that we done that.
Yeah, it's no surprise, that all our kind of the favourite moments are from the season past rather than the current season. If I was struggling to pick out the current season, it would probably be the PSV games. But also, I've seen Curry Muncher. I think Curry Muncher put this up, and it ties into what my worst moment would be. But see, when Arfield scored against Liverpool, just for that moment of being up against Liverpool at Ibrox, that was a great moment there and there. But obviously, the 30 minutes of the second half after that completely destroyed that, and that would be my worst moment of the season, I think. What about yours for worst moments?
Me or Ali?
You can go first again.
Yes, Liverpool was up there, mate, for sure. Honestly, the first, and I hate doing this. I hate doing this. The first Old Firm game of this season for me, because it was just a massive, absolute gut wrench to me. I thought we are nowhere near it, and it was horrific to sit and watch the same thing happen again. It was like you literally the worst thing you could imagine happening again. It was horrific. That was a real sore one for me. And to be honest, we've said it before. I knew at that point Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was going to have to go. It was only a matter of time, because you can't survive that. You can't survive that. Not twice in that manner. You're not going to survive it. So yeah, for me, Liverpool, yes, was honestly horrific. I've never experienced Ibrox like that before. I ended up over sitting next to yous. It got that empty at one point. I came over and sat with yous, and none of us were particularly chuffed at what we were watching. But no, for me, the worst that I've felt was after the first Old Firm game this season at Parkhead. I thought, it was the beginning of the end for Gio.
Yeah, I think so. Pearson, are you going to choose one of those two, or there's definitely three other ones that I think you could pick, but are you going to go with those two ones for being the worst?
Nah, if I'm being honest, the Liverpool one, yeah, that was horrific. That last 20, 30 minutes, where we just utterly collapsed. That was unacceptable. But I'm Carney's camp again. That Celtic game. I remember girls on holiday had to go up at 5 a.m. to watch this game.
That's right. So you will.
It was. I was raging with them because they hadn't learned from the previous time at Parkhead, and it was worse. Celtic completely deserved to win the game. They could have battered us even more, to be honest. And I just hope they learn for that game moving forward, which we'll come on and talk about. But for me, that was the game, and the same as Carney. I knew at that point Van Bronckhorst's days were numbered, and so are that team, to be honest, because it's twice I've been there and twice I've done the same. So, that for me, unfortunately. But there is quite a few other bad things.
There's plenty. There's plenty.
The other one I was going to give you, because obviously it was the manner of the Celtic defeat which is the most gone thing, I think, because not that you can accept the defeat against Celtic, but it's not out of the realms of unexpectability. But it was the manner for that one. But the other three that really bothered me were the wee period where we played Livy, St Johnstone and St Mirren, sandwiched in between an Ajax game and an Aberdeen game. Lost 7 points out of those. Talking about the 4 domestic games, 7 points dropped, and that kind of led to the change that we're having and where we are in the league against Celtic. So I think we won't stick in the worst too much more, because we need to be confident going into this game against Celtic on Monday.
Can I do one little bit of mushy stuff? I'll do one for the podcast as well. It's been another. To be fair, we've just went from strength to strength this year, and we've managed to experience press access. For some reason, they want to allow us into the stadium to do things like that. But again, it's been a hell of an experience to do something like that. And yeah, and obviously my personal one this season for me was the response that I got for the podcast for the British Heart Foundation that we've done. I don't think I'll ever be able to do something like that again as long as I'm podcasting. That was a real tremendous night, and it's still something that I'm extremely proud of and look back on with a lot of pride that so many of the Rangers family came in and kind of pulled together to raise, 3,500 and 600 it must have been, because of the extra 50 quid at the end. So 3,610, 20 quid, something like that. But still, generally just absolutely mind-blowing. So the response from that was really tremendous. So on a personal level, I thank everybody that got involved in that again, because that's a real highlight for me, and it's something that this podcast will forever be proud of. Even the guys, I know I'm speaking on their behalf there, but I know they're very proud of what we done that night as well. So yeah, just personally, that was by a mile my podcast highlight. Something that came so good that it was a result of something so bad, but it was tremendous. So thank you again to everybody for that.
Yeah, Scott, couldn't agree more. I was thinking of maybe potentially doing a pod one as well, but I thought that was kind of one that you would be there, because it was a really great night and a worthy cause, but it was one of these ones that we would rather not be in the position that we had to do it, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So Carney, Alistair, have you got any pod moments that you've not mentioned yet? May as well wrap up.
When was Craig Porteous? Was that this season? Was that this year?
I think that was
probably
last
was,
season.
to be honest.
It was maybe like the 21-22 season, but I think it was maybe prior to 2022 starting.
And also, I've seen Ross made his donation as well. Jack Amara, Ryan coming up with that. That's got legs, that Jack Amara, for sure, as long as they tour about. Aye, that's good.
Yeah. No, there's lots of highlights, Scotia. Carney's round them off, to be honest, but probably are. It's probably not. It's a pod thing, but isn't a pod thing. But probably our Christmas day out was probably a good highlight for me in terms of what we did for that. That was good. The night out was good. The next day wasn't great, obviously, with a hangover, but that was a highlight for us.
I was okay because I went home. I was smart. I went home.
Ryan disappeared. He was there about 6 a.m, 5 a.m. Woke up later on. He disappeared. I think he just couldn't get home quick enough. But yeah, enough with that. I mean, we're mainly here to preview the upcoming Old Firm game, which is massive, really, in the scheme of things in terms of the league and whatnot. So we'll start off with just having a wee look at Celtic. They've obviously domestically having a flyer this season, only one defeat to St Mirren. And then their goal difference is 20 ahead of us. And although we've only conceded 3 more, they've scored 17 times more. They've kind of got the mark of an awful lot of teams, I think, Alistair, in the Scottish Premiership in terms of how to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like giving them credit, but you have to give them credit because they've won 18 out of 19 games, which is some record. If we'd done that, we'd be singing our praises for that. Yeah, and they've only been beaten by St Mirren, which when we all watched it, I think a lot of us thought it was a freak result, and it proved to be a freak result because they went back on a run and we've won every game. They just look like they know what they're doing, Celtic. And I hate saying it, I really do, but you need to be truthful about it. They've got an identity. He's brought players in, he's got a tune out of. And I mean, we know how they're going to play, but they just go out and blow teams away. And even, I mean, I don't know if you've looked into it, Scotia. It's one I said to you the other week. I'd love to know how many games they've won in the last 5 minutes this season, how many points they've picked up from that. Because it'd be interesting to find out, because we couldn't do that. And the Aberdeen game was the first time we all looked at each other and said to each other, Christ, we actually did that. We Rangers don't do that, but they do that. You always know going into the famous one for me was when me and Carney were walking to Ibrox and they were playing, I think it was St Johnstone. And Jamie Lowe turned to us and went, it's 1 each at 93 minutes. And I went, they'll score again. And literally 30 seconds later, I checked my phone, it was 2-1. That's just what they do. They've always done it. But he's got this belief he's installed in them. But they're not unbeatable. I mean, you see them in Europe, Celtic. They're there to be beating Celtic. St Mirren, I thought, played well against them in the game. They did beat them. But we need to be on it to beat them because they haven't won 18 out of 19 for no reason, Celtic. They are the team to beat, unfortunately. But, it's painful to say, Scott, because you don't like giving them positives, but you need to be truthful about it because it's just where they are at the moment, where we are. And you look at the signings, they're strengthening even more Celtic before the window's even opened. And it's interesting. You'll probably come on to what Beale said, but we'll just see what happens.
No, yeah, you raise a few good points there, but Carney, I was watching the game they played against Aberdeen Saturday, a week or two before Christmas, and at the end of it, Chris Boyd turned around and said, some people look at that and say, oh, Celtic scored again in the last 5 minutes, but if you sit and watching that game, they were battering down Aberdeen, and Aberdeen were barely hanging on, so it wasn't as if it was a fluky last-minute thing, and unfortunately, like Ali says, they've done this on a number of occasions. But and this is the problem. I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I've listened to a few Rangers podcasts this week, and they're all saying similar things in terms of they don't think Celtic are absolutely brilliant, but they've just got the mark of other teams and they know how to win in Scotland. And I tend to agree with that. But some people say, how can you say Celtic aren't a great team when they've done this? But I think even Beale had said the same. He came out and his comments were slightly misconstrued last week about that. But what are your thoughts about them before we got on to us?
I agree, mate. I agree with you. I think the biggest problem that the rest of Scottish football have when playing Celtic is they set up exactly the same way. Celtic know what they're going to be playing every time a team come to town. We have seen if a team tries something a little bit different, it will take Celtic a bit of time to adjust, and sometimes it can catch them out. But they're a well-oiled machine on the attack, in my opinion. If they hit full flight, it's very hard to keep up with them because it is literally pass. It's like 2, 3, 4 passes and they're in your box. It's very quick, it's very direct. And you've got to give the guy plaudits for that. Look, but I'll hold my hands up. I sat here and slated Ange Postecoglou when he got appointed as Celtic manager because I thought he was going to be their Pedro, and he's been completely wrong in that. I do think our turmoil, if you like, that we've been in has obviously helped them be as good a success as they have been, and they've had an easier ride than they probably should have. But I even had a conversation with my stepdad, who's a season ticket holder for Aberdeen, and he was obviously devastated the fact that we'd won the game. But me and my stepdad can always have very good, sensible conversations about football. And he said exactly the same. He's like, if you go out expecting to hold on to a draw, against Celtic, the chances are you'll get beat. So until the rest of Scottish football decide to take a few bit of risks, and look, they might take a risk and get beat 6-0. They might take a risk and win it 2-1, 3-1. You don't know, but nobody wants to take that risk because it's all just too important to gather points and not gather a loss. So they'll defend for their lives. I think they're a good team. They are a good team. Are they the best Celtic team I've seen in my life? No, they're not. But I still think there is flaws within the way that they choose to play football, and it's up to us as Rangers, Michael Beale as the manager of Rangers, to find them flaws and to challenge them. In my opinion, over the past year, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, since Gio took over, we've shown them far too much respect. You can't show respect in games like this. You just can't. It's got to go out the window. Doesn't matter how good they are, how good they've been playing, but you have to get rid of it. We did fantastic in Europe last year, right? Honestly, unbelievable. Probably the best that we'll maybe ever see it. We've said that before, I know, but you can see them in Europe that they just continuously get caught out because there is flaws in the system in the way that they choose to play football. It's up to the rest of Scottish football to find their flaws and put a bit of pressure on them. Am I saying I'm sitting here saying that I'm confident Rangers are going to go out there and do it? Probably not. No, but I'm never confident for an Old Firm game. So, do I think we can win? Yeah, of course I think we can win. There's always a chance that you can win the game. Based on form, based on paper, everybody's going to have Celtic down in favourites, but who doesn't love an underdog? So,
no, indeed. You mentioned that thing about Gio, and I always kind of flash back to like Gio's first Old Firm game, not the 6-2 defeat that we had against him the season that he'd come in. I'm sure that was Advocaat's first Old Firm game in defeat, and I always got the impression that maybe they went into with that reckoning or not, but I don't know. But anyway, on Beale, he was on his press conference, like we mentioned earlier. It was 20 minutes long. An awful lot of it wasn't really to do with the game, and this is what I liked about it, that there was an awful lot of enthusiasm from Beale in certain aspects and how he wanted the team to go forward, how he wanted the backroom staff to go forward. But as always, the main kind of talking point prior to a game is the availability of players, and he came out saying that Alfie should be available, as will Colak. And Carney made a wee interesting comment that said, if Alfie isn't available, Roof will be, but Roof's touch and go if he isn't. So pleased to hear that, though, that Alfie and Colak are both available and should one of them at least should start.
Yes. It's I would have not been looking forward to it if Sakala was leading the line, put it that way. So very important that at least one of them is going to be fit enough to play. Yeah, the Roof comment was a bit strange. I'm like, well, if you want one way to guarantee that Kemar Roof will get injured, play him when he's not fit. That's exactly all you need to do. But I get where he's coming from. I think he realises the significance of the game. I do like his comments regarding he's basically going to judge his progress so far on this game. I think it's going to show him his true work, whether the players that he has at his disposal right now are truly with him or not. But it's look, we are fans. We know exactly what this game is. Rangers have to win this game. It's just pure and simple as that. There's no other way around it. We have to win that. A draw prolongs it a little bit, in my opinion, unless they somehow manage to collapse and the rest of Scottish football actually try to play football against them from time to time. Then, I just can't see. We've said it before. I just can't see how they don't go on and clinch this. So a draw to me is as good as useless, to be honest. So it's then I said tomorrow because it feels like that because we're doing this now. And I said tomorrow, but Monday is it's a must win. It's just to me, it's just as pure and simple as that. To have any sort of hope for the rest of this season, we have to win.
Yeah, I mean, Ali, that's something that actually Beale got asked about, and he came out and said, I think someone asked him the question about performances. He said, no, the result needs to be the same. He's going into that game going that he won't care if it's a poor performance as long as we get the result, which I can understand, but there's also the flip side of that the performances by us so far haven't been great. There's been wee flashes, but it still looks like we're just trying to click into that gear, but I would not be against the result being the same as it was during the week. Let's put it that way.
No, the way we've played in the last 4 games, you will slip up somewhere. Kind of continually play that way and win games, but games against them kind of take, a lot of folks say they take care of themselves, and they do to a point. Sometimes some folks, they throw form out the window, and that is true to a point in Old Firms. But they need to be on at Rangers. Beale did say in his presser, basically, if they're not on at Rangers, they will get beat. He basically said that, and they need to be on it. We can't have any passengers in this Rangers team, Scotia, for Monday. If we do have any passengers, we will get beat. They all need to be on it. It needs to be 8s and 9s across the board for me against them. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just need to see what happens. Kind of lost what I was saying there, actually.
I could see it happening, mate. I was looking at this going, he's lost, man. He's away. He's away down Abbey Road.
Yeah, totally. One thing that pleased me about this press conference, and it's not directly related to the game coming up, but Kenny, what you were saying there, Ali, about having 8 out of 9s and players being on it, was that he said that anyone that comes in the January window needs to come in and be a starter. I was so happy to hear that, Carney, when he'd said that.
Oh, mate, yes, music to my ears. And I like what he was saying. He's very clear on who his players are. Like the likes of Tillman, Hadji, Roof. Who else did they mention? He mentioned somebody else.
Cholak was mentioned quite a lot.
Was it Cholak? It was mentioned. He said they would all start. And by that, he doesn't mean that Morelos and Kent wouldn't play, but they are all the guys that are in contention for the first team. They are starters, as he's liking to call them. It's imperative that Rangers bring in players that can make a difference to the starting 11. There is no point in us signing squad players. Our squad's too big. We've said it for a while now. Our squad is far too big. There is going to need to be some form of trimming down. It is going to need to happen. But I'm all for Beale saying that this is, if we're going to sign somebody, it's going to be someone that can make a difference to the starting 11, and that is what we are crying out for. And based on the comments that he's mentioned around the midfield as well, that there's uncertainty there based on contracts, based on different things, loans, etc. So I think it's quite clear to see that Beale is thinking I need something within that midfield. So no, it was absolute music to my ears, mate.
Yeah, what about you, Ali? I know we've obviously talked an awful lot that midfield is this area we need to strengthen in, but I was really pleased, like Carney mentions there, that coming out and saying, no, we do need starters rather than fillers.
He's not daft, Beale. He's been watching us for ages, so he knows exactly. He's come into this Rangers team. I think his eyes are wide open now in terms of what he's working with now. I think he knew it was bad to a point, but since he's been in there, I think it's worse than he thought. And you can see that with the performances and players, how he's used 20 players so far. So I'm delighted to hear that he only wants to bring players to play in that first team. He's talked about, like you said, Scotia, your Lawrences, your Hadjis as first team players that will probably come back in. He's talked about Roof a couple of times. I like Kemar Roof as a footballer. I think he's a great footballer. We can't rely on him though, but he seems to like Kemar Roof. But no, we can't. As Carney just said, we've got too many players. We need to trim it. We've got 10 guys out of contract in the summer. I would think the majority of them, Scotia will probably go. And we need to bring first team players in. We should have done that in the summer there, first team players coming in. We've been unlucky with injuries with a few of them, but yeah, we need to bring guys to go into that starting 11, not guys. He did say if he does bring somebody in who is a development type player, he'll tell us that's what this guy is, which I quite liked about it. So we'll know. But no, he's not stupid, Michael Beale. He says what we see and what we think as well. So I was delighted to hear that from him.
Indeed, and talking of first team players that could make the starting 11, let's give us your teams for the game on Monday. Carney, I'll let you have the honours of going first for your team and score prediction as well.
Shocked if we don't pick the same team here. Genuinely will be shocked. McGregor, Tavernier, and I've seen people saying in the group, in the chat and that as well, I hope he has the balls to drop Tavernier. He is not dropping Tavernier for his first Old Firm game. Trust me, it's just not happening. I think Devine is a prospect and a good prospect at that, but he's not quite yet for me. And I know Tav's been up and down, but there's just no chance. I put money on that James Tavernier starts unless he's somehow picks up an injury. So yeah, sorry. McGregor, Tavernier, Goldson, Davies, Barisic, Lundstrom, Jack, Tillman, Kent, Morelos, and Čolak. That is my team.
Right. Well, you'll be surprised. My team's
You'll be surprised as well, can't you?
Really?
My team's slightly different.
If they're both fit, if Čolak and Morelos are both fit, he has to play both of them. It's as simple as that. But who are we going to play? Matondo? Sakala?
No,
Matondo alone, can't he?
No,
Get you
won't
were-
leave
I get what-
Matondo alone.
I do get where you're coming from, Carney, but I've just got the feeling that a couple of the comments that Beale's made recently, he talked about the lack of control in the middle of the pitch being an issue.
Yep.
That
I think
got me
we'll pick
going
a
at
team,
thinking
same team here,
things.
Scotia.
And because Čolak wasn't slightly fit, I would have wanted to play. I mean, wouldn't be adverse to the team that had started against Motherwell, but given how they played throughout that 90 minutes, I was like, no. So my team's McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davies, Barisic, Jack, Lundstrom, Kamara, Tillman, Kent, and Morelos. Alistair, is that your team as well?
Exact same. I think I see what Carney's thinking of. If they were fully up and playing, he would play them, I think. But from what he's saying, I think he'll go Morelos and Čolak will stay in the bench. The midfield for me is key on Monday. We need to win that midfield battle and we need to try and control the game for there. That's why Jack Kamara will be there. He likes Glenn Kamara. So even Glenn Kamara is on his game. He's a fantastic footballer. And he's, I think he could do well in that game, Kamara, just the way Celtic play. Lundstrom obviously in there and Jack, a bit of dig in there. So I'm the exact same as you, Scotia. That's the team I would play to. And I think he will play that team.
Yeah, no, I just, given the comments that I think that he made about the midfield, that's what's got me thinking of him bringing and to solidify it a wee bit. Did you give me a score, Carney?
No, I didn't. I think, look, I'm at the point where he throws caution to the wind here, and you go for it. So if Čolak can play, if he can play for an hour, you have to play both of them. That's my opinion on it. I think if you're going,
listen, if that happens, I'd be happy. Don't get me wrong, I would like to see that team, but
if he's going to stick to his guns and say that he's going to go for it and we're going to go right from the start, we're not going to take a step back, that midfield to me is a bit of a step back. I'm not going to lie. I don't think we get much in terms of creativity out of that midfield three, and I don't... I think they could run past us if we choose to do that. I think we have to be the ones that control the game and be on the front foot and with that midfield. That's why I think we should just fucking go for it, man. Like, absolutely just go for it. I don't see the point in not, because it doesn't really matter if we draw. If we get beat, the league's even more done than it is now, so we have to win. We have to win, pure and simple. I'm going to go 3-2 at Rangers. I'm going to go Alfredo Morelos to score the winning goal. He'll score the third. First goal scorer, I'll say Kent, so he can do that.
My score, not too dissimilar to that. It's going to be 2-1 Rangers. Alfie's going to score the first, and Čolak's going to score a winner in the last 5 minutes of the game. There's my score. That'll get us really buzzing for the post-match afterwards. Ali, what about you?
Oh, Carney's 3-2. God, I don't know if I could take that. 3-2 looks God. The only thing I would say, I know Carney's going to be playing Morelos and Čolak. The only thing I would say, the games Beale's been in, he's threw a couple of curveballs in the team, which we've all never really predicted. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a wee surprise in there, in terms of he played Lowry in the Wednesday night. Nobody even seen that coming. So
nah, didn't see that coming.
You never know. You never know. You might start with the two. You never know. But prediction, oh God, I think they'll score. I know we've got a couple of clean sheets, but just the way they play, and it's gun ho and everything, I think they will get chances, and I think they will score. I'm going to go 2-1 Rangers. I think it's going to be one each, and I think we could get a VAR decision and a penalty to Rangers, and Tav will step up and score. Hopefully in the 90th minute. But
I would take any single one of them, to be honest. Take any single one of them right now. Yes, that'll do us for this evening. So thank you for everyone to joining us, and thank you to my guest. First up, Ali Pearson. Thank you.
No problem. Just a couple more days to wait till that glorious Monday. Well, like Carney says, it's horrible going to the game. I mean, for folk that actually haven't been in Old Firm, it's horrible. It's a horrible experience.
Horrible.
I don't enjoy it. I enjoy it if we win in the pub afterwards, have a few drinks, etc. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I was looking forward to it. But yeah, that the day before will be I don't know what to do with myself then, but we will see what happens.
I've got an idea of what you'll be doing that day. There'll be music involved. I know that much.
Probably be music. Yeah, there will be music involved. But yeah, like Carney says, it is a must-win game for Rangers to try and get anything back in this season in this league. We need to win. A draw is no use. The Rangers team will know it. Like I said in the post-match from Motherwell, I think Rangers have played within themselves a couple of games because they can get away with it. I think this Celtic team will make this Rangers team up the gears. And like I said, I think they will up the gears. They have to up the gears. And yeah, let's go Rangers. It's over to you.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Carney.
My pleasure, mate. Brilliant. So good that your Wi-Fi lasted that amount of time, mate. That's fantastic that we got there in the end. Yeah, look, it's one of these, it's a waiting game now, and you never really know what's going to happen in an Old Firm game. But again, I agree with Ali. We're going to have to up the gears, and the Rangers team are really going to need to really increase their levels of performance from what we seen the other night. I don't think there's any great doubt in that. But you never know. If we turn up, they're having a bit of an off day. Maybe, and if we turn up and they turn up, it's going to be a very interesting match to see how everything matches up. But yeah, absolutely not looking forward to it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Never do. But yeah, it's all about what happens after, I suppose. But yeah, again, to everybody in the chat, thank you for donations tonight. Everybody that watches us, have a very, very happy new year. All the best for when the bells come. Really do appreciate your support over this last year. We are not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to go for us. So yeah, thank you to everybody, and I hope more than anything else in this world that your team wins on Monday and you see 4 very, very happy men at full time. So yeah, enjoy it, everybody, and we'll speak to you on Monday. Cheers, Scosh.
Yeah, Carney, what I would like to say, just to echo your thoughts there, that thank you to all the listeners and subscribers. The support that you've given us over the last 12 months has been incredible. We just want to continue to grow and grow. I mean, the support has been that great that we all forgot to mention that it was our birthday a couple of weeks ago for the podcast.
So it was. That's your job. That's your
I know,
job.
that's my job. So hopefully Rangers can do it for us on Monday, and we'll celebrate the birthday of the pod as well as a victory.